Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? This is Erick Principe here for Faster Human, and this is a brand new episode 230, and it's gonna be posted today. So, anyways, I just wanted to jump in first. But first of all, before I jump into this actual episode, my praise goes to the people in Ukraine. I have friends that live in Ukraine, and my prayers go to them, and hopefully everybody's safe. Looking at from what I'm looking at, this war is just absolutely devastating for them, and my heart goes out to them, and definitely, is anything we can be able to do is just maintain diligence, and hopefully this gets resolved and there's no more devastation in this country that needs right now our, our support, and hopefully the minds of these people from Russia that have to think about the repercussions that are going to have if there's no change. But that's basically the beginning of this podcast, and so is this episode 230. And let's talk about stress, how stressful it is just to watch the news. I try not to. I try to avoid as much as I can. I like to be informed, but yet at the same time, I like to don't stress myself off with watching it on a constant basis. So let's talk about a little bit of Faster Human, new episode. It's been since this January. I didn't do any episodes, but then I'm jumping into this. How importance of levels of stress, and we're gonna talk about stress and how much of this consistency of the news, and how stressful that is just to seeing this, and so how stressful is your job, how stressful is trying to lose weight, and trying to become the best version of yourself as we trying to manage levels of stress. Right now, Sunday morning, I'm trying to make sure that my day starts with a nice black coffee, hydration, water, you name it. I got to enjoy a delicious meal yesterday. My wife made a really, really good meal yesterday, and got to enjoy myself and some cake. So anyhow, let's go over the ideas of why I constantly talking about this personal journey. I'm 45 years old, and now I'm going towards being 46 this year. And so how much of the differences make fasting for me, and prolonged fasting, intermittent fasting, and the things that I've been practicing now closer to 5 years now, since 2017, and kind of sort of sharing the journey. I think that the most important thing you got to remember is that when you are in the process of losing weight, and the process of building muscle, and the process of just be able to get physically fit, right? Maybe in your 40s, and you can relate this with me, and for anybody. So the most important thing is, because the levels of stress that you have, and levels of cortisol that is built up when you wake up in the morning, is to be able to kind of sort of relax more than anything the beginning, but not necessarily. My pattern is get up in the morning, work out, stay busy, wait until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, eat something pretty much about 2,500 calories, and so around there. And so make sure that by the end of my day, I'm trying to be able to relax and talk about de-stress, because levels of stress, once again, becomes a thing that most of you, they need to be able to kind of conquer, to be able to relax at the end of the day, to be able to sleep. And how important is this? I mean, listening to so many people now, how necessary is that a sleep pattern is necessary for energy, your vitality, your efficiency in the following day, because in a daily basis we constantly working, and trying to, be self-efficient every single day. And how the fasting has be able to help me to manage these things. And how is it that the importance of having a lean protein at the beginning of your first breaking your fast, or healthy fats, is important. And then we're gonna get to the carbohydrates part of it, because I, I do eat rice, I do eat pastas. Um, trying to mix and match different things that eventually can make a huge difference in the long term. Um, and trying to have superfoods that are beneficial in the long term. I do making sure that my multivitamins, vitamins, and so on and so forth are part of this process, as we constantly um, trying to make sure that the body is in a really good sort of form of resiliency, getting the best nutrients. And so one thing that didn't keep in mind, that when you're fasting and when you're going through this process of fasting, it's a process that I always tell people, like, look, the best thing is your windows and your time frames, and your the possibilities of you making sure that you're expanding little by little the amount of fasting period is necessary. And so when we are in these sort of periods of making sure that your body is changing the time frames, is making sure that you're not eating super late, that you're not consuming any carbohydrates, less amount of sugars late at night. I can tell you my own personal journey is that a big no-no when you're decide after, I don't know, 20 plus, or maybe, you know 30 something hours of fasting. The last thing you want to have is sugar, and the last thing you want to have is carbohydrates at the beginning of your breaking your fast. So for anybody who is just kind of sort of brand new to this, and kind of learning new in regards of the periods of fasting, right? It's going to be tough for anybody kind of going from the the idea of just not consuming anything for the beginning of the day. For somebody who sounds crazy, right? But then think about it. How do you gain weight? How do you feel so bloated or constipated? And so why is this? Why are you sexually frustrated on the fact that your body is not functioning right, right? So if your body is not functioning right, it's not performing right, it's because of the consumption of the amount of carbohydrate, sugar, processed foods, that is going to have an implication into your health in a daily basis. So when I was 34 years old and I was 240 pounds, looking back, and I said to myself, man, I was trying to, trying to eat healthy, but by all means, but I was pushing the body more, physically, which we need to push the body and create this level of stress that's a healthy stress. But when you're going to a roller coaster of gaining and losing, you're not giving the body the time frame of the benefit of, becoming more healthier. You're not giving the body a chance to repair. And so this consistency of eating all through the day is not the best option, that I come to learn myself, because I did it. I did the whole 5 to 6 meals per day, but eventually it has a benefit to it, to be because you're eating healthy. But like I said to many people, is the elephant in the room is the insulin spike that you create. And imagine you having the best foods ever, but then insulin is prevalent there because you're stressing the body out from eating all through the day. It worked for a specific time frame, but once you hit an age group, once you hit your 40s and your body's changing, those things create levels of stress, consistency of levels of stress, that you're not getting the most out of your intermittent fasting, right? Or fasting, right? Because the body is fasting when you're sleeping. So maybe you're sleeping 8 hours to 9 hours, but the first thing you do in the morning is eat. The first thing in the morning you do is eat, and that creates an imbalance. I believe that I say 99.9% of the population I've gone through, and hopefully that as we continue learning more about fasting and intermittent fasting, we cannot be able to share a little bit of what it takes for me to be able to maintain resiliency on the body and to make sure that you pushing the envelope of kind of sort of like longevity. And and I talk about how traditionally I eat foods that traditionally are being created more than 1,000 years, and I'm Peruvian, and so there's Peruvian food, traditional foods, but then I don't eat those traditional foods on a constant basis. I see different people that do have specific foods that are traditionally they're so bound to it, right? And so that hasn't changed in 1,000 years. But I think that the most important thing that we are learning now is that the better is your foods as far as from meats and organs and good healthy fats, the better your body tends to respond better. The less amount of carbohydrates, the better. And so the less amount of sugars, the better. So your body's less stressed out from processed foods and so on and so forth. Now, don't get me wrong. I do, like I said, I do eat rice. I do eat pastas. I do eat specific things. And so, but once again, I don't necessarily do it every time. So it's necessarily to constantly change your eating patterns to be less stressed out. And so I don't want to be all over the place when I'm explaining this, but when you are becoming more efficient, when your time frames are, then you're less susceptible of gaining weight. But then, once again, you can have more of fasting, and that sometimes cannot be so beneficial for you if you do so much of the fasting, but then you're not putting the right stuff in your body. Now I'm more prone to be able to take vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. I'm making sure that I have magnesium before I go to bed, and so I'm trying to make sure that all those things are part a consistency of my daily intake, and so that way it becomes easier for myself to be able to get the most out of it. So every person is different. Every person is going to be different when it comes down to their health and when it comes down to longevity. And so that all it takes is those changes of a tool. And I feel that intermittent fasting is a tool, not a diet, because you have a specific way of eating on a daily basis. So I think that the most important thing to understand and recognize is that be able to, for you to be able to be more consistent on your healthy foods, the better results, the more of your activity as far as running, jogging, lifting weights, strength training. I suggest you should definitely focus on strength training, so that way you can be able to see and push the body to a different level. I think that the most important thing is understanding that your food consumption has to have a time frame, and have a time frame to start, just a time frame to end. Satisfaction of you satisfying yourself with the foods, and be able to kind of sort of like understand that there's more to learn every single day. I'm continue learning new stuff and understanding that the benefits of going to sleep early, the benefits of why you should not be on your cell phone late at night. And I'm a practitioner of what I talk about this, and try not to avoid much of daily life at the end of the day, especially nighttime, sunset time, making sure that those things are part of it. So so how we stress our bodies on a daily basis can make a huge difference in the following day. So the less amount of stress that you put in, especially light or blue light from the computers, TV, cell phones, the less more likely you're going to be stressed out. So the idea to sunset time is on the time frame or the circadian rhythm time clock is to be able to avoid as much as light as possible, because you want to relax the body, to less stress into the body at nighttime. And this can be a huge benefit in the long term for longevity, for your being your 40s, maybe your 30s, you gain so much weight. So finding those time frames can make a huge difference in the long term, because think about it, you're trying to be just the best version of you, and in the long term. And the idea to this is to kind of select consistency of changing your eating patterns, and making sure that it's smaller, making sure that you're eating, you know, your fruits and vegetables and so on and so forth, if you are accustomed to. But then one of the things that, I want to kind of sort of like tap into is the mental health aspect of the amount of consumption of sugar and carbohydrates and processed foods that has implication to your brain, and has an effect to your mental health. The gut microbiome, so it's the gut with our brains, it's a second brain that deals with your emotions and deals with the stress, the factor of you're constantly eating, how much stress you put into the body, right? So all those things are a connection. I'm not going to get into details because I'm not necessarily a nutritionist, or scientifically, I'm not necessarily a person and an expert into this, but it's just this is right there in front of your face, that if you consumption of so much of these foods, processed foods, will have an effect on your body. I can tell you, being 240 pounds, I used to drink soda or pop soda. And so imagine that, right? So just being 34, looking like I was way older than my 40s, right? So, but then being 40 now, trying to maintain this longevity factor is necessary. And for anybody who is brand new to intermittent fasting, is going to be a learning process, a learning tool that you have to be able to push a little bit the boundary of how you normally eat on a daily basis. And so this can be so essential for you, so essential for you. So just kind of remember that this is something that you need to focus on, because the idea to exercise, you're mobile, you're have 2 arms, 2 legs. Some people don't, right? I mean, let's look. The most important thing is that you remember is that, because the fact that you are working and you having a job and so on and so forth, that doesn't mean you're gonna kind of sort of take a toll on your health, because you're working so many hours. In the long term, you deprive yourself of a healthy body, because you're working so many hours. You're working 60, 70 hours. Don't get me wrong. I have done that. I do it all the time. But I want the efficiency of my body to be more efficient and less stress, and trying to make sure that I'm putting good stress, when I'm fasting, when I'm working out. And so in the long term, to make sure that my body is getting the most out of it in a daily basis. So I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who check out my podcast. That's available on Spotify, available on Apple Podcasts, and so on and so forth. I just wanted to come in and talk a little bit about the stress levels and how is it that it impacts our daily lives. If you subscribe here, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, and it helps the channel. If you want to check out the podcast on Spotify, put a review on it. Thank you so much in advance for doing that for me. And so it's an Apple Podcast if you decide to have a different other platforms that you can listen to this podcast. So it's YouTube. And I just want to say thank you. And once again, the prayers goes out to the people in Ukraine. And just wanted to jump in and talk a little bit of stress and how much of this stress levels can affect in a daily basis on your longevity factor, on the faster human you are right now. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.